In the heart of Vihiga County, tucked between whispering valleys and red earth roads, lay a village called Ivona. Every year, when the long rains came and the Jacaranda trees bloomed, Ivona would look like a dream, a place where the earth itself remembered how to smile. Under those violet canopies, children played and women gossiped, and the air smelled of roasted maize and rain-soaked soil. But for one young woman, Aliviza, that season meant something more. Aliviza had always believed that dreams were like seeds. They needed both rain and courage to grow. She wrote songs about love, hope, and home, though she'd never left the boundaries of Ivona. Her mother sold vegetables at the market. Her father, a retired teacher, still read poetry by the fireside. But Aliviza, she dreamed of more, of music that could travel beyond the hills. Every morning, before the market started, she would take a walk around the village. Her route passed by the carpenter's shed at the edge of the village. There, Chamwada worked. Quiet, steady, his hands shaping wood with patient rhythm. They rarely spoke, just exchanged smiles that lingered too long. Aliviza loved the way he worked with silence, as if each stroke of his knife told a story words could not. One morning, the day the first jacaranda bloomed, something changed. Aliviza found herself drawn to his workshop, holding a broken lyre, an old wooden instrument her late grandfather had built and gifted her. "Chamwada, you think you can fix this for me?" Aliviza asked. Chamwada, while smiling, replied, "Let me take a look." That moment, small as it seemed, was the beginning of everything. In the weeks that followed, they met often. Chamwada mended the lyre piece by piece, and Aliviza brought him stories, laughter, and sometimes roasted groundnuts wrapped in paper. He listened as she spoke of her dreams, of singing before crowds, of recording her songs someday. He rarely said much, but when he did, his words carried weight. "You don't need to leave Ivona to be heard," Chamwada told her. "The wind travels further than we think. Maybe. But even the wind must rise before it flies," Aliviza laughingly replied. They share a quiet smile. A jacaranda petal lands on her hair. He notices, reaches out to remove it, then hesitates, his hand stopping halfway. She blushes and looks away. That night, Chamwada couldn't sleep. He sat by his window, carving a tiny bird from scrap wood, one with wings outstretched, ready to soar. He didn't know why, but he carved her initials on it. And somewhere across the village, Aliviza strummed her repaired lyre under the jacaranda sky, humming a melody she didn't fully understand, a tune that carried his name in every note. Ivona thrived that season. The rains were kind, the harvest good, and beneath those trees, a quiet love grew tender, uncertain, but real. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Chamwada waited by the old footbridge. In his hand, the carved bird. When Aliviza arrived, breathless and smiling, he handed it to her. "So you don't forget where you first learned to fly," said Chamwada. "And if I fly too far?" she asked. "Then bring the wind back home," he replied. Beneath the jacaranda sky, two souls found something they didn't have names for. They didn't call it love, not yet. But the trees knew. The earth knew. Even the wind that carried her songs knew. Seasons change softly in Ivona, the way a song fades into another without warning. The purple jacaranda flowers that once crowned the hills now carpeted the ground, a tender farewell to the days that had felt like magic. For Aliviza, life was shifting too. Her song, the one she wrote beneath those trees, had been recorded by a visitor from Nairobi, a young journalist collecting village stories. He had promised to play it on a popular local radio show once he returned to Nairobi. A week later, the song was aired. Aliviza's life changed overnight. Messages began arriving, invitations, opportunities, and one morning, she received an email from the Nairobi Conservatory of Music offering her a scholarship to study. "You've always carried your grandfather's gift, Aliviza," her mother told her tearfully. "Go, see where it leads." But as she packed her few belongings, her lyre, her notebooks, and the tiny wooden bird Chamada had carved, her heart grew heavier. She found him at the carpentry shed, working on a window frame. The light that morning was soft, the kind that makes farewells harder to speak. "Chamada, I got accepted to the conservatory." Chamada stopped what he was doing to look at her. After a long pause, he said, "Then your song has found its wings. I wanted to tell you first, before anyone else," she said. He nodded slowly. "Will you come back?" he asked. "I'll carry home in every song I sing," she whispered. He looked away, blinking hard. She noticed the fresh carving on his table, another bird, mid-flight, and smiled through her tears. They didn't say goodbye. Not really. Some goodbyes hide in the spaces between words. In a trembling smile, a held breath, a final glance. When the bus left Ivona that dawn, Chamada stood at the edge of the road, watching it disappear in the distance. In Nairobi, life moved faster, louder than any song she had known. Skyscrapers replaced hills, car horns replaced bird songs. But whenever she felt lost, Aliviza would hold the wooden bird in her palm and remember the sound of jacarandas whispering. Months turned into years. Her songs found an audience. Her voice became a bridge between the city and the soil of her home. But distance, like silence, grows heavy when left unanswered. Messages between her and Chamada came less often. Sometimes, she wondered if he still walked beneath the jacarandas, or if the village too had forgotten her. Fame brought her many things: recognition, applause, even love offered by those drawn to her music. But none of it filled the quiet ache that only 1 month's silence had left. One night, after a concert, she met an elderly producer who asked where she came from. When she said Ivona, he smiled softly. "Ah, the village of the purple trees. I once stopped there when the jacarandas were in bloom. It felt like heaven had lowered its curtains." Her eyes filled with tears. It was the first time in years she'd heard someone say the village's name aloud. That night, she wrote a new song. She called it "The Wind Remembers," a song about promises, distance, and home. When she sang it live, her voice cracked halfway through, and the audience thought it was emotion. But it was something else, a longing that words could no longer hide. Back in Ivona, Chamada heard the song playing on the radio in his workshop. He instantly recognized her voice, and he closed his eyes as he listened to the song. In that moment, two souls separated by years and miles breathed the same note. Neither knew the other was listening, but the jacarandas, always patient, always watching, began to bloom again. Years passed quietly, as they often do. The world turned, seasons changed, and life in Ivona continued beneath the Jacaranda sky. Chamoda's hair began to show strands of silver. His workshop had grown into a big business. He made furniture for homes, offices, schools, but no one knew that once in a while he still carved birds. Small, winged, wooden birds. He never sold them. He said they were for the wind. Every Jacaranda season, Chamoda would walk to the old footbridge, the place where dreams were once exchanged, and wait there a while. He never told anyone why. Perhaps he didn't know himself. But that year, the bloom came early, and with it, a sound. When Chamoda looked up, he saw a woman standing by the path, holding a small bag, her eyes scanning the village as if seeing home for the first time. It was Alivisa. For a moment, neither spoke. Years of silence filled the space between two heartbeats. "You came back," Chamoda said softly. Alivisa, smiling through tears, replied, "The wind brought me home." She takes a step closer. He looks older, steadier, but the same kindness lingers in his eyes. She had returned, not as the girl who left, but as a woman who had lived, sang across cities, touched lives, and carried Ivona in every note. She told him about Nairobi, about the songs that took her far but never replaced what she left behind. And he told her about the village, how it had changed, how the trees bloomed faithfully each year, even when she was gone. "I used to think living would make me whole, but the farther I went, the more I missed the sky. And you," Alivisa said. "The trees never forgot you." "Neither did I," said Chamoda, as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden bird. "I carved this the day you left. I never gave it to you." He placed it in her hands, and she held it close, trembling slightly. "It's still flying," she said, smiling, with a tear sliding down her cheek. They both laughed softly, the kind of laugh that heals years of distance. The jacarandas rained down their purple blessings as if to seal the moment. Years later, people would still tell their story of the carpenter and the singer, whose love waited patiently beneath the jacaranda sky. They would say, "The trees bloom brighter where they walk together, hand in hand, their laughter rising with the wind." Because love, true love, doesn't ask the wind to stay. It just learns to bloom again when the season is right.
Thanks for watching, friends. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. And if you'd like to keep the journey going, check out our other story, Train to the Coast, a tale of new beginnings and unexpected connections. See you on the next one.